Hi, my name is Bruno Moreland and I teach AP African American Studies. And in this series, I'm going to go over all of the required sources in the AP African American Studies curriculum. Today, we're looking at the required sources from 1.4 about Africa's ancient societies, and there are two required sources. The first one is a sculpture of a terracotta figure from the Knox Society, and the other one is a coin from the Aksum civilization. Now, we're going to talk about them in chronological order, so we'll start with the Knox sculpture. Now, the Knox were a society that developed around 500 BCE, and they were one of the earliest ironworking societies in Africa. Not only did they have the technology to do ironworking and iron smelting, but they also had pottery as a tool that they had discovered to create forms of art in different parts of expression, like we see here in this Knox sculpture. Now, the Knox sculpture is dated between 900 BCE to 200 CE. That is the best estimate that they could give. It's almost over 1,000-year range, but it shows us that this was a old society that predated many of the other following societies. In fact, archaeologists have figured that because of the similarities that they see in this Knox sculpture to other following civilizations, they think that this is one of the precursors to the Yoruba or the Benin civilizations in Nigeria. Finding artifacts like this sculpture tells us a lot about a society. We can see that they not only portrayed people, but they also portrayed animals. And the people that were portrayed were adorned with elaborate hairstyles, jewelry, and the different facial expressions and facial features on these sculptures give us a clue into what the standards of beauty were during this time. It also gives us a clue into the division of labor based on what the sculptures are doing, though it is still not clearly known if the people who made these sculptures were men or women. Now, the College Board makes sure to point out that these artifacts are the most ancient extant evidence of a complex settled society in sub-Saharan Africa, which means that we have not lost these artifacts. It is the oldest evidence that we have of a society in Africa that was settled, that had divisions of labor, that had a form of belief systems. And it's really important to point out because, as we saw in the first historical topic, African history had often been undermined by European or Western scholars, portraying it as a dark continent without really much history, and any history that had been found in the continent would have been attributed to outsiders or outside influences. So this is something that we have of an African society. They developed ironworking and pottery tools on their own without the outside influence of other peoples. The second required source is a gold coin from the Aksum Empire. And Aksum rose around 100 BCE in modern-day Eritrea around the Red Sea. They were a seafaring and sea-trading empire that ended up rising to power as Egypt and Kush were a little bit more on the decline. There's one particular king of Aksum that you have to remember, and his name is Ezana. King Ezana was the one that actually converted to Christianity and started to promote that within his empire. The gold coin that the College Board gives us here does portray King Ezana with two pieces of wheat on each side of his head, some writing, and then really critical to point out, some crosses on either side of his face, showing that there is a Christian kingdom in this part of Africa. Before this, the Aksum coins used to have a half moon or a disc that would correlate to the old belief systems found in this region. Because of their conversion to Christianity between 340 CE and 400 CE, that makes Aksum one of the oldest Christian nations in the world. And that shouldn't come as a surprise because Christianity had already existed in Africa going back to the 1st century CE with the creation of the Coptic Church in Egypt. Another significant fact about the conversion to Christianity is that it was purely voluntary. This was not something that was brought in by outside invaders or outside conquerors and then forced upon the people. It was likely a result of the good trading relationship with the Romans, who had already adopted Christianity as well. Something else of note is the script or the writing that is around King Ezana's head. This is written in the Ge'ez script, which was the written form of language that the Aksum Empire had, and is still in existence and used today by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The language that is written in Ge'ez is also a precursor to languages that are still spoken around Ethiopia, mainly Tigray and Tigrinya. As we've already pointed out, there's wheat on either side of King Ezana's head, which shows the importance of agriculture to the Aksum Empire. Obviously, agriculture is going to be the thing that provides the foodstuffs and nutrition for people who live in the empire. And if there is a scarcity of wheat or other food, then that might severely hurt the legitimacy of the Aksumite king. Finally, one thing that's extremely significant about these coins is that they were found as far away as South Asia, which shows the vast trading networks that King Ezana and the Aksum Empire had. So that means that they were bringing in goods from as far away as Asia, and then they were trading those goods with the countries and nations across the Mediterranean. All right, so those are all the required sources that we have for this topic, 1.4, Africa's Ancient Societies. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you come back when we go over 1.5, the Sudanic Empires.